that people change because they're willing, they're allowed, and they're able to change.
Yeah.
So just the three things: willing, allowed, able.
And able.
Yeah, and so that's also in the sustainable business transformation. You should make sure, and that's the core actually of how we do things. You should make it clear. So that's the common language.
Yep.
Get the bullshit out. Make it clear. What is it for us? Make it core. So it's really from vision onwards. It's in the strategy. It's not a separate strategic pillar. No, it's really integrated in the whole strategy and down to the KPIs, which on a broader impact scale.
Welcome to the Business Transformation Podcast. And in this episode, we are talking to one of those industry experts. We are speaking to Gijs Mensing. Did I get that right?
Yeah, almost. It's Gijs. It was a good try. It was a good try.
Oh, I'll get it right. I'll practice. Okay. We've got Gijs here as a sustainable business expert all the way from, and I won't say Amsterdam, I'll say Netherlands. How you doing, Gijs?
I'm very, very good. How are you, man?
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, so it's it's great to have you on the show because you're probably the one of the only, if not the only person that is, and it's a good thing. So I think the market is changing. So we've got someone that's leading this change around sustainable business and what is a sustainable business. We have a lot of talk, a lot of hype around it. So now we're going to get to the bottom of it with a true expert. Now, so we can keep our audience on focus and they can follow along. As usual, our 3 points, we're going to talk about, first of all, what is sustainable business? Yeah. And we're going to get into that around maturity, and there's a different focus with those sustainable businesses. Is there a particular approach that you follow when you go in to see and visit clients to understand how sustainable they are, what their focus is, what their gaps, weaknesses are, next steps? And then knowing what you know now over almost, I think it's just around 22 decades experience in this space. If you could do it all again, knowing what you know, experience, background, etc., would you do it differently? What would you do differently?
Yeah.
All righty. So to kick us off.
Yeah.
Okay. Good one. Okay. So the first stuff, the sustainable business is a bit of not so much a cliche. It's like the it word at the moment, and it's getting thrown around, but that's like business and digital transformation. It means different things to different people. Yeah. So give us the proper definition.
Well, the interesting thing is that sustainability is something that is used in a variety of settings, and it's used a lot. And actually, sustainability itself is kind of losing its context and its meaning. So I think what's essential is that we look differently at business and business itself. So we go from traditional business view to sustainable business. And sustainable business is not only sustainability, because sustainability mainly is about green and green energy and biodiversity, etc. But sustainable business is really in the core that you have a different perspective of business. So actually, to say that more the traditional view on business is focused on internal impact. It's okay. If we talk about business impact, it's about the impact the business has for itself, and often it's about financial impact, financial results. So it's internal, and also all the metrics, the success metrics internally are in pounds, dollars, euros. So it's financially. So and the interesting thing is that even if you look at a tool like the business model canvas, which has been around for almost 13 years, Alexander Osterwalder created that. Yep. It's a 9 building block business model. Yep. And it describes for who you create which value, which channels, relationships, but also how you create that value, the left side. And the impact is described by revenues and cost structure. So it's financial impact, internal financial impact. So that in the core is how we look at business, and how we have been looking at business for decades, and even still today. And of course, you hear a lot about sustainability. It's a lot in the news, governments, like we have the CSRD and the reporting on these, etc. But still, my experience in the boardrooms, but even in the educational systems, it's about internal value and financial value. Yes. And I think that's why I call it's really a change of perspective on business. So So, for example, I was having a conversation with some MBA students of the EADE, a business school in Barcelona, and about sustainable business. And then one of the students, he said, and these are, high level, well, management level companies.
Yeah.
And he said, well, isn't it that it will, it's a market construction. So demand, supply will just follow demand.
Yes, supply and demand.
Transformed because demand will change. Consumer demand will change. We want more sustainable products, want more. And I said, well, that's actually, that's not going to happen, because the change in demand will not drive the transformation that is needed in these times. If you look around the environmental, societal problems we have. So there's really a role of companies
with organizations. Yeah.
The government is trying, and rules and regulations, but it's moving slow, and the consumer is also changing, but not fast enough. If you ask someone like, okay, would you give up your meat? Yeah, okay, I would eat less meat, but really giving up.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
That won't be the trigger of the transformation. So it's companies like, for example, like Beyond Meat, producing new kind of meat or vegetarian meat as an alternative to drive the consumer to change. So it's a business
drivers.
Yeah. And the interesting thing more about the traditional, and then we go to sustainable business, but the traditional perspective is still taught in MBAs and in schools. So yes, there are more and more courses on sustainability in the curriculum, but the core of what's being taught is focused around financial value, internal impact. And for example, in the Dutch national exams for high schools here in the Netherlands, there were, I think, 1.5 months ago, there were the results, and 2 months ago there were the exams. And in the exams of high school, there was no question around sustainability and no question of sustainable business. The questions which were in there, economics-wise, was what's the impact on a company of the changing oil prices?
No.
And, yeah, should be.
Wow.
So
not even get a mention.
No, exactly. And maybe I'm putting it a little bit black and white, but I think in the essence of how we are taught, high school, even MBA, it's about that traditional perspective on business. Yeah.
I see that with my MBA came over from Australia when they found out about my book, and they said, we'd like you to teach your book in the uni. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? And they said, well, there's a gap between academia and industry. And I said, okay. And so we try to close it. And I said, how do you do that? And I said, well, we get the leaders in the industry to come back into academia and teach it. And I was going, oh, so that's how you do it. All right. So yeah, to that point there is, if they don't get, if the industry is leading and university is still teaching old school, there's always going to be the gap.
Yeah. Yeah. And one last remark about this traditional view is more on a holistic view. Heath, what's the most influential indicator of success worldwide if you look at countries?
GDP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
GDP, it's money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how success is described on a more macro level. So if in the essence that's what you look at, then on a business level you also look at revenues and profits, and in the KPIs you look at financials.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I think that's the core of why I feel and the industry is transforming into more towards sustainable business, and sustainable business is more about the integral view on business impact. So it also looks at internal business impact, financial results, but also other, but also looks at the impact to the environment and to society.
So external.
Yeah, exactly.
Marriage.
Yeah. And what you see now is that from the government, the whole GDPR and all the rules and regulations around it, they force companies to at least report that. And now it's, we need to do this. And they do this and create this, at least transparency at the level they need to do it. So, but it's not really changing the conversation in the boardroom. And I think that's essential what needs to be done. So going back to the business model, for example, in essence, it's about having that 9 building block business model and adding 2 blocks to it. So in the middle, you have your value proposition and how you create value. At the bottom, you have your business impact, so financial impact, revenue streams, and the cost structure. And on top of it, you have your positive and negative impact on society and environment. And that's the view you should have. That's how you should look at business impact. So also the impact to the environment and society. So that's a more holistic view. And well, 6 years ago, when I was working with IKEA Global, they already used that 11 block business model.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was triggered by it. And IKEA is one of the companies that's really proactively engaging in that view and really going for circularity, etc. Yes, they're a big corporate, so it goes slowly and they want to move faster, but at least they have the
started.
They start in their intrinsic motivation to change, but they already use that business model. So actually, a couple of years later, I started using that 11 block business model standard in all the work, strategy work I do with companies, because only that visual change changes the conversation you're
conversation
having.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of actually the aim of that is that you look at a business model, and the aim is that you create your business model in a way that the world in a total is better off because of the company.
Yes.
Not that you only have a relevant value proposition, but that the whole world and the environment and society and the customers, etc., is better off bottom line.
I can see that now. I see there's something topical right now, like what is that clothing company, the Spanish one, Yana?
Yeah.
And they got fast fashion, and so it changes every second day. Yeah. And then what you don't see is you see where it's manufactured and the amount of ink that they put as a side effect or product of the clothing they're dyeing is like, whoa. So that has a price. And so that model there, the positive and negative impact to the environment, or it's like, that would come in handy if that. Yeah,
but exactly. And I think, there are more initiatives to have companies report on it and create transparency. But I think the real change is if a company intrinsically feels like, okay, this is our role, and bottom line, we want to contribute.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, there's rules and regulation, but intrinsically, as a company, you should feel the ownership. Okay, businesses have a very important role in this transformation, and so we should be proactive in it,
leading it. Yes.
So I think that's essential. And if you talk about sustainable business, then for me, a sustainable business is a business that is adaptive, so sees the changing world around you and able to respond to it. Is responsible. That's actually adding the 2 blocks to the business model canvas.
The top, yep. So the 9 becomes 11 block.
Exactly, to take the more integral view on impact long term, because this is not about short-term revenue. This takes a longer-term perspective,
and it might take some time for the returns to come. So you
100%.
have to,
And the business case is there for sustainable business. We can go back to that later, but the business case is there. It has a longer term perspective. So also that needs to change in the perspective. And the fourth point, while doing so, you distinct yourself at this moment. But a sustainable business is also distinctive, because if you're not distinctive, you will not
make you different
long as a company. So it's not only sustainability, but to be sustainable as a business, and the responsibility part is just part of the whole sustainable business. Yeah.
So the misnomer, but the word sustainable and sustainability are slightly, they're interrelated, but it's very, it's like saying, people will say to me, business transformation, and then all they talk about is changing technology. And so are you talking, you're going to tell me it's digital transformation in a minute, But what you're actually doing is just replacing the technology for new technology, and you're saying it's digital transformation and going to transform the whole organization. I think there's a misuse of the word, and it's like sustainability. It's like it's subtly different. But
and exactly, and I 100% agree. And I think the challenge now is to get away from that sustainability. It's purpose, but sustainability has, as I mentioned, some kind of the green side, green perspective. It also feels a little bit like a lot that companies need to do and complicated to do, and also maybe for showcasing, so for their story. So that's. And I think the change of perspective, you should look at the sustainable business, that you create a sustainable business. And that's way wider aspect than we just described. So,
I'm with you there. This is like the word transformation, and transformation in the projects I come into, and will get called into fix or clean up. They're like been going for 3 or 4 years, and they haven't delivered anything. And sometimes it's the second crack at it. And I was like, you know what? I think we need to change the name. Transformation's got a bad name. Let's call it what it needs to be. Turn around. You're running out of time and running out of money, and the world is moving and changing. If you call this a transformation and you're going to take 3 or 4 years to do it, don't call it a transformation. Call it a change project. There's some sense of urgency there. And it's the wrong word. You should be turn around. Like sustainability, it's like, okay, we're going to be nicely, and a report on it. Maybe it's like values, espouse values versus enacted values. It's like we say we do, but we don't actually do it.
And that's why this whole sustainable business is spot on with regard to business transformation, because it's a transformation. Yes, it's a business transformation, but it's a systemic transformation. It's actually a whole mindset transformation in our economic thinking. But that's
no, it's interesting you say that, because people talk about agile and they think agile transformation or agile framework or agile method, and then they think it's just by applying a particular framework. No, agile first and foremost is a way of thinking.
Exactly.
It's a way of thinking. Then through your behavior, you become agile. It's the same thing. It's the first, you're talking about perspective and the way of thinking.
Right. And the interesting thing, so when helping companies, every company starts or approaches from a different angle, and for some companies it helps to talk about, okay, we need to move towards regenerative. The bottom line should be net positive, etc. But a lot of companies are definitely not there yet, or maybe one of the C-level persons is there, but the rest of the company it's really about making it concrete. Like, look around you, you need to start doing something, and to make it really concrete. Sustainable business actually shows up in 3 components. So it shows up in your commerce, it shows up in your operations and in your organization. So you have sustainable commerce, you have sustainable operations, and sustainable organization. And that's a business language, and then companies feel like, okay, so it's impacting our commerce, our operations, and organization. So commerce is really about your value propositions you have towards your customers and the relationship you have with your customers. That needs to change. Your operations is about the footprint of your production. So what is needed to create this value, and then your organization is about how you organize for this better value proposition. So
it's almost like a new glossary, of terms for them, and it becomes their language, and through the language it becomes embedded to the behavior. What you think, but it becomes your actions. Action becomes character, behavior, etc. So it's a starting point, maybe, and like you were saying, up and down the organization, maybe different levels of maturity. And we'll touch on that in a minute. That the C-suite, or 1 or 2 of them might have it, but the rest might not. And so it's probably starting that conversation of the glossary of terms that mean the same thing.
100%. It's about creating that common language and
common language. That's the words.
The umbrella sustainable business, but really understanding, like, okay, what's sustainable commerce? So that you are aware of the changing demands and requirements around sustainability of your customers, but also that you see the market opportunities of being a front runner in challenging your customers, and that can be B2B or B2C in making the transformation themselves. So that you're positioning yourself in driving that transformation.
First mover.
Yeah, exactly. And it also, your relationship with your customers changes. Because you're more of a partnership, you're helping it more long term.
Yes.
So that's a different perspective on commerce. And then when you look at operations actually the majority of the attention now goes to sustainable operation, because that's about your resource usage, your materials, your energy, your water, etc. It's about your footprint, your CO2 footprint, scope 1, 2, and 3. But so right now it's more like companies create that data and transparency because someone is hitting them, or
a stick, a carrot or a stick.
Exactly. So they do the bare necessities, and maybe a little bit more. But if you really take a different look at, how can we create sustainable operations and really be proactive? What we see in materials, what could use, what could happen, what scarcity could happen? Could we rethink our process? Could we rethink our materials? And I think that's very important. And also, the assets you require to do all that, that's also part of your operation. So yes, I think a lot is going on in that area due to the whole
regulation.
But it could go way further. And then the third element, the sustainable organization, is how you're organized to create that sustainable value. So this is really, on one side, of course, about your people approach. It's about equality. It's about salary gaps. It's about development, really making people valued and transferable as well. It's also about governance, how you the business, if sustainability is business responsibility, and if we have easy decision making and empowered decision making, but also this is about the KPIs
driving the right behavior.
Exactly. So if you have KPIs focused around integral impact, so the more the integral view, so not only the financials but also the environmental and social impact.
2 parts.
That drives behavior and change.
So we need something like a DuPont model where the drivers end up being a holistic 2 parts, as you say, the business impact and there versus the environmental societal impact.
And we need to add that second flavor, but actually it needs to become into the DNA that you consider. One of my friends sees well into the whole steward ownership and the governance around. And actually what she initiated, she's called Ernestine, and she initiated a seat for the living on the boardroom. So a person that's really on the boardroom and not on a permanent level, but time to time, that speaks up for the living being non-people. So the environment and the animals and that sounds a little bit mushy and tree hugging, but actually it gives that perspective a voice to make sure that it comes back.
Well, they're represented.
In the mindset of the boardroom conversations.
I like that. And I talk about that in terms of governance and the projects I go in. And I say, guys, if you can look around the room and you've got stakeholders that in the organization that aren't represented by these people in the room, I can tell you what's going to happen when you think you're going to implement this. Nothing's going to happen because their voices were never ever heard. And so, that's a key point there to make sure that they got, to your words, their seat at the table. Nice one.
Yeah. So there are different tools to bring this into the conversation, into the decision making. So KPIs is one thing, and seat for living is another thing. So there are different tools to do that. So the organization is also about your facilities and your assets, you're building your food
footprint, the CO2 waste, energy usage.
And so the energy use that's more on our operations, but also for the facilities, it's a thing. But also supporting functions. For example, what I always like to use as an example is how you organize your procurement, because you can have everybody in the business really thinking about long term, we need to invest and create partnership, etc. But if your procurement is still driving for competing for the price, value for money, whatever, there's no way you're able to do that. So also your supporting functions
Yes.
your IT, but also your procurement need to live this mindset. Same goes for your financial and reporting, for example. Okay, they need to do, but if from finance or risk or whatever, but if you create a reporting like, okay, this is the impact we have as a company, and this is actually the management information we're going to drive our decisions on. Yeah, that is a driving factor in the whole transformation.
Yep. Okay. So we're talking really organization alignment from the top all the way to the bottom. And
Yeah.
I've seen that there with procurement, and procurement may be thought about, the guys downstairs in the basement, but then they're the ones making some big decisions. And and so they go out to tender and they say, okay, we've got some suppliers, and they don't look at the supply chain here. The supply chain for them to bring to market to us that particular product, they just destroyed the earth. There's a bomb that's gone off, and so that message.
Yeah, and the other way around is also true, because I've seen some procurement departments which really did strategic procurement, driving the business objectives, and then it can really be a driver for the business change. So a lot of
bottom up, top down. Yeah,
exactly. Really, that procurement is really driving and saying, okay, but this might sound very good, but this supplier has this, and this. That's not good for our supply chain if you look at our impact, et cetera. So they play a very important role here as well. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few elements. The starting point could possibly be the common language from the get-go, that everyone's on the same page of, sustainable versus sustainability. You've got different perspectives. The three, what do we call them? 3 views, perspectives, the commerce, operational, and organizational. So commerce, the value proposition, what does that mean in terms of dollars to you? But the operation, how you set up. And then the third one being the structure, and that is for all functions across and up and down. All singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that common language is not only about the boardroom. Of course, it's driven by the boardroom or obstructed, but it should really be a common language around the organization. So it's really to include the whole organization in it. And of course, at the right time, I think strategy is strongest if you include a diagonal or representation of the organization from the early start on. Because then you include different perspectives, but also create buy-in and create a notion of, hey, we're doing this together. So
nice one. So strategy is strongest when you've got diagonal. What was I going to quote you on that one?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's the part about the buy-in, because otherwise it's like empty words that said from the guys upstairs, and if they weren't involved in the creation of the vision or strategies or objectives, they'll go, well, this is the guys upstairs that had their yearly away day and they've come back all pumped up. We'll give it a month and it'll die down, and then we're back to how it was before. But no, as long as you get everyone involved up and down the organization, particularly helping craft it.
So if there's one thing I took away from my experience as an organizational change consultant, I spent a couple of years at a Big Four firm, and that people change because they're willing, they're allowed, and they're able to change. Yeah. So just the 3 things: willing, allowed,
and able.
Yeah, and so that's also in the sustainable business transformation. You should make sure, and that's the core actually of how we do things. You should make it clear. So that's the common language.
Yep.
Get the bullshit out. Make it clear. What is it for us? Make it core. So it's really from vision onwards. It's in the strategy. It's not a separate strategic pillar. No, it's really integrated in the whole strategy, and down to the KPIs, which on a broader impact scale. So it's core and it's actionable. You make it concrete. So I'm able to start doing it on each level. So it's CEO. You need also for a CEO need to make it actionable, and you need to make it actionable for a customer contact center employee. So willing is really about making it clear, and of course telling the story and building on the intrinsic motivation. Allowed.
This is for all. So that willing, allowed, and able comes through in clear, core, and actionable.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Nice one. And that is actionable, because it, you know, and I think you were saying the words there, core, and you said, what's in it for me? You know, what does it mean? And so that old what's in it for me comes up. So it's what's in it for me means different things to the individual, up and down the organization. Nice one. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that willing, allowed, and able, that's one of the basic rules for business transformation, or at least human transformation, which is business transformation actually for me.
Yeah, because over big enough, it won't just be an organization transformation, it'll be industry transformation, then becomes a market, and then becomes industry.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is you can also do it projected on business level, and now we talk about it, that a company is willing, allowed, and able. And I think the willing part is really coming from that different perspective on business, really thinking about the opportunities and the necessity of sustainable business. So that's the winning part. Okay, do we want to change? Do we want to grab the opportunity? Allowed is also based on the rules and regulations from the government, because I see a lot of examples that companies do want to change, but the rules and regulations are changing, or so slow, or counterproductive, or whatever. So that makes the transition more difficult. And then able is really about it's about mindset, humans. Because it's not about the technological ability to change. The technology is there enough.
If the why is big enough, the how will find a way. And that's so definitely the technology is classic, and enterprise architecture would be the enabler, not the driver. Okay. All right. Okay. So we've got now your the definition of sustainable versus sustainability. We've got the new 11 blocks. We've got I don't know, we're calling it a DuPont model, but it's an integrated model across the organization, up and down the organization, speaking our common language. Now, if I say now, what is your approach you look forward to, where will you follow when you go into an organization? What would that be?
Okay, so the first one is really about creating those insights. And then we come to that, what I call sustainable business maturity, is that as a company, you realize where you stand on the ladder of sustainable business. And we identified 3 main levels, each or 3 main phases, each with 2 levels. And so the first phase is self-focused. And actually level 1 is what we call sustainable what? So that businesses are not focused on sustainability whatsoever. They're focused on internal revenues. They just keep on what they've been doing always, and making revenues with that. So fortunately, not very much companies are still in that level. Then level 2 is greenwashing, which we all know. So you are aware of this whole sustainability, the necessity of it. You're also aware that as a company, you need to do something about it, and at least talk about it. So you have some projects and you talk about it, but it's still self-focused, because you need to be you want to have a good image as a company. So the second phase is impact focus. So you realize that it's not only about internal financial impact, the impact of your business, but it's also impacting the environment and society. So level 3 is active engagement. So you start up building a governance around sustainability and making a point on the agenda, creating multiple projects, looking at where can we contribute.
Okay, it's interesting you say there, like the people would say, like they come to me and say there's aspirations, but they don't know where to start. Exactly. And it's like the key point there is as simple as it's a point on the agenda. It's like you don't overthink it. Let's get it, have the point, have the discussion, and then we'll go from there.
Exactly. So that's what I call active engagement. It's becoming a topic. That's it. And then next level 4 is you becoming enthusiastic. So you're integrating it actually in a long-term vision on the role you want to play and how sustainable business looks like. And it also, at that moment, you're striving to minimize your footprint. So you're actually not doing the necessities that you need to do for the government, but you're trying to minimize really reduce your footprint and trying to minimize it. And then the last phase is really about positive impact. So that's actually where it flips. Like, okay, yes, we have this more holistic view to our impact, but actually the end state should be that it should be regenerative. Yeah, and net positive. So you're starting to try take an extra step, go the extra mile.
Yes.
Proactive towards your customers, challenging the ecosystem, going further than the requirement from the government, and really feeling that you have a responsibility as a business. And then level 6 is you lead the way. So you're the example in the industry. And so and there
exemplar.
Yeah, there's and to be honest, the majority of the companies are level 3, maybe 2, maybe some 4, and there are very few, fortunately, ones, but also very few 6. You could say examples like Patagonia or Interface, the carpet manufacturer, are there at level 6 because they lead the way and really with steward ownership like Patagonia does. That's really. But then still you need to be critical to look at their whole operations. But the interesting thing, if you look at the Netherlands, for example, we have this sustainable brand index. Perception of how people look at the sustainability of the brand. It's 200 companies, and the number 1 is Tony Chocolonely. And it's a Dutch chocolate brand of fair trade, really example, telling the story, really proactive. But to give an example is that the number 1, Tony Chocolonely, has 114 points of the total of 200. So that's number 1. So just
114, just over halfway, really.
So just to illustrate, and this is about perception, so it's not about the actual operation, but just to illustrate that we're not even halfway. We're in the beginning of this transformation. The front runners are definitely not there yet. So, but that's okay. So that's a little bit long introduction of the methodology, but that's about creating insights. So one is the sustainable business maturity, but it's also about what's happening around you, what's talking to your customers, what's on their minds, how do they look at the different perspective, what's internally already happening within the company, things like that.
So the insights externally customers, internally employees.
Yeah, exactly. So create insights. Then the next step is take a stand, and that's really showing your colors. What's your worldview? What do we think of what's happening around us? What's our opinion? And then what's our vision? What's our role? The role of our company. And then how does that translate to our strategic focus? And it's really choosing. And talking about sustainable, okay, where do our in the whole CSRD reporting, where are we going to comply? Where are we going to compete, and where do we want to excel? Where do we want to be known for? And maybe you commit as a company to the sustainability development goals, which are quite broadly, but you could also commit to good life goals, for example. So it's really committing yourself or take a stand.
Yep, take a stand, commitment.
Yeah, so that's the second one. And then third one is give meaning. So that's really, okay, what does it mean for a current business model? What does it mean for our innovation portfolio? What new business models do we want to develop? What does it mean for our different departments? And really give meaning. So where do we stand as procurement? What level are we? And where do we want to go? And the same goes for actually all your activities under your commerce operations. And
so all functions.
So actually those 3 are the design phase. So this creating that common language, understanding, take a stand, and then give meaning to it. So that's actually designing your sustainable business. And then the next one is doing it. So that's the whole actionable
execution. Yeah.
Execution. And that's really about getting started, getting projects off the ground, making roadmap, not extensive roadmap, but action plans. Where do we start? And not like, okay, we're going to think it all through and analyze the shit out of it. No.
And get nowhere. Yeah.
We have a vision, and what's the first thing we can do?
Yes, quick wins. Yeah.
Learning by doing.
Perfect. Yeah.
And it's really creating that story internally and externally. And then after that, you're going to commit your and activate your story and broaden, activate it in the ecosystem, etc. So you're making it bigger than yourself. And then what you need to do is commit to long term. So really create these long-term KPIs, but also including, for example, that seat at the boardroom. And that can be internal or external person, but really committing for long-term conversations. Okay, are we making the impact we want to make?
Yeah, the feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, in essence, and it sounds a lot, but actually it's design and then start doing. So yeah, as Rethink, we like to call ourselves a pro-consultancy. So it's active-oriented consultancy. So you just make it concrete and then actionable. And then by doing it, you learn and you iterate, etc.
Okay, and I think for the audience here, in case you missed it, I think that what and you said it from the beginning, is about thinking, right? The first part is thinking.
Yeah.
And so what people will be maybe, they think the task is so big, and they're frozen in analysis paralysis and go and don't. But what you just said there, learning by doing.
Yeah.
Start, just start. It may seem
exactly. And then you can, it's design is really about thinking, but it's actually creating that common language and actually the business language. So therefore, translating it to your commerce operations and organization into a language that everybody understands in the company, and then start doing, because the time of thinking has passed.
I love this. Yeah, I'm going to quote you. I'm writing all the notes, by the way. Kevin worked it out. Yeah. The time for thinking is over. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like that. I think that probably more so in different areas, maybe with sustainability, like transformation, like the time for thinking and beautiful presentations that are interesting but arguably useless is like, you just got to start. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, one quote I like is that we're not in an era of change, but in a change of era. So and that's true transformation, because if you're in an era of change, you can just try and move slowly and etc. But if you're in a change of era, you really need to handle and act. Yeah.
So that comes to what I was saying earlier about we've got to change the name of the language of transformation to turnarounds. No more transformation. Transformation's dead. We're doing turnarounds now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So now we've got an approach. We've got our 6 stages. Yeah. First stage. Well, our maturity, understand our maturity. We got 6 levels. We're doing our phase 1 is just a basic understanding. Before we go to stage 2 is the greenwashing, which is really, the start talking of it. And the third is we had the impact focus. What is your focus? So that's active engagement. Yeah. Active engagement, your integrated approach. So you want to minimize or reduce your footprint. And number 5 is what is the regenerative, the net positive is the final outcome that you're looking for. So what is that looking like? This is going above and beyond what may be mandated by rules and regulations. If you're going to do it, go all the way. Yeah. And okay. And number 6 is be the exemplar. Yeah. Be the benchmark for the industry. And you gave a couple of examples here. Pentagola and what's the other one? Interface for carpets. And carpets probably a pretty interesting one, because they're going to get wool, carpet, dye, and there's there's going to be impact environment. That example I gave before, was it Yara? Yara, is that the name of the clothing company I'm trying to think of? Yeah, it does a lot of dye. Okay, and then our stage 2 part is our step 2. Step 2 is to take a stand. Yeah. This is making the commitment. So we're making a commitment both on the vision, and that's what do we say here? Yeah, everyone's got a role in that vision. Yeah,
it's really take a stand and stand out. Okay, this is what we want to be known for, and in your broader vision as a company, but also on sustainability. This is what we want to excel in.
Yeah. Okay, and then we had the give the meaning. So we looked at across the business model, the innovation portfolio, and the departments. So everyone has a role in that. And that's you talk about a new business language, a new language. So you're taking a stand, design, doing, executing, and then getting started.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice one. Okay. And we got some.
You took notes. Nice. Yeah, you graduated.
Yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, I knew all that time and then that lectures were going to pay off in the end. Yeah, thanks to all those lecturers for teaching me that. But it's all one thing to write it down, right? But it's our thing is to now to take that and then go and to do something with it. And what also happens is it gets lost in translation.
Yeah, like, yeah, and I think the bottom line is that it's a transformation. It's different perspective on business, but it does mean something different for each business. It's not like, okay, you need to do it like this. No, as a company, you have a vision, you have a role you want to play, and that describes or prescribes how sustainable business shows up.
Yeah, and what it means to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a framework, right? It's like I get guys call me and say, I've read the book, I'm trying to apply it word for word. I said, oh, thank you for reading, but just on the front, it's got a little word there and it says framework, which means don't apply it word for word. You got to adopt it for your current situation. And so this is the guideline. So if you're saying here, this is the model and or framework, and you pick and choose applicable to you, make it meaningful. Okay, so now we have our approach. Now we're at the if you could do it all again. If you could do it all again, knowing what you know, 20 years in the business. You're going to walk into a client site and you go, okay, I can hit the ground running. We can get some quick results here. Long-term sustainability, sustainable organization. What would you do differently? Or would you do it exactly?
No, exactly. The funny thing is that I've around 20 years of experience in strategy, in the organizational change and sustainable business models. And actually what we've just been discussing in the past hour is the result of that. And it's my experience in strategy and organizational change, and really the conviction that we need to do different as businesses, and we have a role there. So it's actually the result of all that experience. So I wouldn't change it at this moment. Anyway, but let's have the same conversation in 5 years. I'll probably, because this is not the starting, but I probably have so definitely some iterations and new insights in 5 years. But for now, I really feel this is the way we can change the business perspective and really translate it to a business language, because I think that will drive the transformation, not because we have to do, but because it's business. There's business.
It's business. This is business now.
And it's a huge business case. Some facts, but now business engaging in sustainable business, really moving towards sustainable business, it's a Gallup research, but showing that they're 17% more productive, having 20% more revenues and 21% more profitable. So it's not, and of course it's one research, but there are multiple other researches showing it, but it is business.
Yes,
and that's the essence. It's not charity. It's not like, okay, we do this because we love trees and we hug them. No, it's business. It's business.
This is business. So this is fundamentally, well, depending on what we said earlier, universities are in the old school, still teaching the old school. Industry is ahead of the time. And it's a new way of thinking for the old school, but where we are in industry now, and particularly you are, the years of experience leading this, is like you get the benefit of, or the benefit of the years of experience coming to an organization saying you've seen some really good practices and you've seen some opportunities for improvement. And if you applied these, good plus a little bit extra, you're going to, and to the Gallup's research, the benefit, financially, it pays off. Other side, environment, economy, the industry, it pays off too. So we go from the old school thinking, the new school. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and just to close up, being a little bit modest, there are a lot of great companies and great people already doing great stuff, and I just want to contribute with my perspective and approach to this transformation, and definitely not saying that it's the truth and it's the one and only methodology, because a lot of good work has already been done. But I think it will definitely help in this whole transformation.
Yeah, very good, very good. So not I don't want we should have a part 2 and catch up and see how we went and how sustainable went and the nine box model. So, but we won't make it 5 years though, because in 5 years, you know, we either could be alive or not. Yeah, we're blowing ourselves up. So let's make it a year. Let's see. So what are we now? We're in July 2023. So okay. So July 2024. We'll keep. Yeah. We'll link up again and we'll get on. So how did we go?
Yeah.
Are we better? And if not, why not?
Yeah. And if not, well, I don't know what I will be doing then.
Well, I'll be in the same boat. Yeah, I'll be in the same boat because you know they're in the same boat together. Yeah, this is not like the people at one end of the boat and they're bailing out the others. No, we're all in the same boat together.
Exactly. No, so I love this conversation. Let's continue it in a year. But thank you for now, man.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. All right, so we'll post this on the podcast on YouTube, and when we do, probably a week or two, I'll tag you on LinkedIn. You can share it around if your network, do what you like. But if there's, for the audience to get a hold of you, I'll put your details, contact details in the show notes to get a hold of you, the company, how to get in touch. If you want to get your maturity assessment, your insights done for sustainable business model, here's our man. Okay.
All right.
Okay, champion. Been a pleasure. Have a good night. Okay, catch ya. Bye.
Bye.